I was told to make this vlog and make it Christmassy. Wait, what? I'll make it Christmassy. Today we're just going to go over some of the stuff that we talked about before in the last announcement with the new game and maybe show you some art. Fuck knows. It's gonna be a wild ride. Okay, so the new game, we're currently calling it VR Heroes. This might change, might not. Who knows? We're crazy. We didn't really go into too much detail in the last video about what the game is, because it's still kind of up in the air. We've got a couple things nailed down that we're really working on. It's still pretty freeform. We're still trying to discover what is fun in this world with this mechanic, and not just the swing mechanic, the other two mystery mechanics that we can play around with. In an attempt to make me slightly more entertaining, got some off-brand whiskey. Cool. And some off-brand cola. Other off-brand colas are available. Oh, I made that a bit strong. If you have any ideas or suggestions or even questions about the game, shoot them our way and we'll consider everything, or we'll ignore all the bad stuff. You may have saw glimpses of the new grapple gun that's in VR Heroes. This was such a process to make because it was coming off of the back of Project Swing. Now I consider the grapple gun that we have in VR Heroes and all the iterations of the grapple guns that were in Project Swing, it was the same linear progression of refining designs, figuring out this process. And I feel like whilst I was doing this, I got better as a concept artist. You can concept in 3D, and this is what I was learning how to do. For me, it's not something that came naturally. I definitely had to look up a lot of theory on design, like function over form, or form over function. Function follows form. No, form follows function. That's the one. And then ideas of like your 3 tiers of detail, clumping those elements of detail, color schemes. Like I learned a lot trying to concept stuff in general, and it's something I want to talk about because I find it really interesting. If you don't, sucks to be you. Quick side note, I just finished a freelance project for Sorenzo Props. This has got nothing to do with DFG, it's just really fucking cool. And I was hired to make the Rat King from Destiny 2, and he's just made the real version, and I have one. Look how cool this is. It's awesome. Just wanted to share that. Let's get into what I think makes a good design. I've got a list. First one, recognition. If you were to look at a grapple gun and it looks exactly like a normal gun, this doesn't really denote the idea of grappling to something. It can be aesthetically nice, but it doesn't really denote the purpose of it. So that was the 2 problems I had. Have it look nice and have it look recognizable. This was a challenge. That's the first thing I had to kind of deal with. The second thing is pretty hard to define because it's just interesting shapes. You just want it to look interesting. You don't want just cubes or rectangles. It's really hard to describe what interesting is. One thing that makes shapes more interesting, I found, is denoting importance. If you look at the booster on the gun, you'll see that about 2/3 of it is embedded in the gun and 1/3 of it is extruded out of it. Now, if this was a 50-50 split, it would look less interesting. But because 2/3 of it are in the gun, you've denoted importance to one part of it, and that makes it more interesting. And this helps draw the person's attention to that point. If everything's even, there's nowhere for the viewer to look. But if you create these points of importance, then that becomes an interest, I think. I don't know, I'm just talking shit. The next one is levels of detail. Your first level of detail is as primitive as possible. Just take it back to like a silhouette, block shapes, just to get the rough outline. Second level of detail is all the smaller parts on it that give it shape, form, give it those points of interest, things that will catch your eye. And then that third level of detail is just that little bit of refinement, these little bits here and there, but just adding that third level of detail in places, it really makes it pop. One thing you want to do with details is clump them, because then that denotes another place of importance. If you have details spread over the model evenly, then you end up with an absolute clusterfuck. Look at some of the designs for Transformers. There's nowhere for your eye to rest. You want these areas of rest and these areas of detail to contrast against each other. Small clumps, detail, 3 levels of it. Glen's tips. Something I'll do continuously as I model it is assign colors. Especially with the style of this game, I'm tending to work with one color for one object, but then different shades of white and gray. So for the grapple gun, it's yellow, and then we have a lot of white and dark gray. The amount in which you use those colors needs to kind of adhere to a structure. The dark gray takes up around 50%, the white takes up around 30%, and then the yellow takes up around 20%. And you create this kind of staggered layer of colors. If all the colors were spread out perfectly evenly, where we had 33% of each, you're not donating importance again, and you create this evenly spread color scheme where there's nowhere for the viewer to look. There's nowhere for the viewer that creates interest. Of course, there are a lot of other aspects that go into creating good design, or there are no aspects that go into creating good design, and it's all just interpretation. I honestly have no idea. I just know I've gotten a bit better, and I thought I'd share with you my thoughts on it. That's it. How do I end a vlog where it's just me talking to a camera the whole time?